5, 4, 3, 2, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion. As I like to say, today's episode is brought to us by Riverside FM. And now for today's guest, we are joined by Raafat from Tunisia. So, who is Raafat? Go right ahead.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me to Aaron Opinion. My name is Rafa. I'm from south of Tunisia, exactly from Juba. I'm an English teacher, and now I'm working as a freelancer in marketing digital and Google SEO. Okay. In fact, I wanna join this episode thanks to the effort and the effort of my friend Radwan.
Who is our great everybody here on Aaron's Opinion knows him very well. He is our great friend Radwan Mednini. Yeah. Absolutely, yes. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay,
good. So I have, I think, first of all, I have to introduce also my organization with whom I work, where I met Radwan for the first time. We have some suggestions, some proposition to Radwan to work together as a blind person.
Right now, so, right here, just to clarify for the listener, okay, that don't know the situation, you are not blind, you are sighted, and you work for this organization, okay? So that is true, right? Okay, good. So how did you get in touch with this organization, and then why don't you tell us about meeting Radwan for the first time? Go right ahead.
Okay, so I met him recently, Radwan. I don't know him before. He came to the organization and he asked us for help. Which kind of help it was for? Just to find or to give him some proposition in order to help a blind person just like him, because as a Northern African country here in Tunisia, we really do not deal so much with blind person because of their difficulties. So they are not good integrated in our society, or let's say in our community in general. So because of this problem, he asked us for help, and he told us if there is a possibility to help him, to give him some suggestions, some advices in order to be more integrated, and what we can do for him as an organization. So we met him another time, and we fixed with him a meeting with not only me, but with the rest of the members of the organization, which is called Juba Solidarity and Development, okay, based here in Juba. With this, he was so much excited. So I don't know if you want to speak firstly about the organization itself, or what we can do for him and for his community as a blind person. So do you prefer to start speaking just shortly about organization, maybe?
Well, I would like as much of the story as you would like to give, or as we say, I want the whole story. The listener,
okay.
Because please remember, the listeners don't really. I mean, they know me, but they don't know you. And most people who do not know anyone from Tunisia don't know, are unaware of all of this. So let me ask you a question. What is the history of the organization you're working for? Please do the best you can and kind of build us up to where how you come in. But we need to know about the organization and its history.
Okay, so Juba Solidarity and Development is a non-profit organization, okay, that works for social and solidarity economy throughout its programs. Our first aim is to help women to find different ways to work, to improve their lives throughout many activities, throughout trainings, trainings by, for example, training in computer sessions, in social activities, in agriculture activities. This is how we start as Jerba Solidarity and Development. But then, by the time we discover some other activity that we can exploit, uh, needy people, help them to find works, jobs, also working with youngs, with kids, improving their knowledge, let them discovering arts, cinema, help them to have to work, for example, to participate in artistic trainings. So this was the first aims of the organizations. But little by little, as I told you, we discover and we were aware of the necessity to work with other communities. When I say community, I don't mean other person or other kind of human being. We are all human beings. We are not different. No, but when I say this, I want to say that there is communities, some minority that suffer, maybe that have some problems in integration. They have some troubles in maybe even expressing themselves, etc. So the organization start to see how we can aid them or help them by session, by trainings, by, let's say, discovering other fields together. This was the first aim for the organization. And for example, we started also to working with, if you know, maybe UNDP. UNDP is the United Nations Development Program, which means that we do not work only on local area. We are in collaboration, in cooperation with UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, which means that we collect money, for example, to launch some project for needy people. Those needy people, for example, they have the idea to practice an activity, to start their own business, for example, but they are not able, you see. So throughout this intervention, this financial intervention with UNDP, we were able to find solution to help them, to guide them step by step to success. So when we met Radwan, it was also the same idea that we share all together, all the members of the organization, from let's say the president, the vice president of the organization, and the simple members, as me, as my colleagues. So that was the let's say the general purposes of the organization, and in fact, it has more than 10 years of working on Jerba. So let's say 10 years that really an important period to show and to prove that it is really a solid and an important organization, since it was able to resist 10 years on the same local or in the same area. Okay, 10 years ago was the revolution, the Tunisian revolution. So there was many things were not stable in Tunisia. More than that, we were able to maintain the organization. Why? For the only purpose to help people from any community or from any religion, from any, let's say, belonging. Okay? So this is, in general, the organization and its activities.
Very good. That is all excellent. Can you give us an idea of timeline? For example, I am 30 years old, so and Radwan, I suppose, is around my age. I don't know precisely, but what year did you meet him, and when did he come up? When did he approach? When did Radwan approach your organization in the first place?
Uh, 2 weeks ago, only 2 weeks, and we were, from the first meeting with Radwan, we were all warned by the necessity to react, to to take decision about some let's say, program, or we have to react towards his needs, his difficulties. We have to to react together in order to save him, not to rely on somebody else. So as an organization, we met together again, and we told him that we can help him, for example, by affording such kind of tablets, that are used to write, especially they are made for blind person, and they were excited to the idea. So we told him that we can afford him this kind of tablets in order to, for example, invite his friends in offices of organization, of our organization, and then he can give them lessons and trainings in order to show them and help them to write and be integrated little by little. So there are some blind person, they cannot write because there is no material, or let's say there is no way to write. Not all blinds not all blinds know that there is a tablet specialized for them, but thanks to Radwan, we discovered this. No, personally, I has never known about that, but he told me that there is some kind of tablets made to write, and communicate between him and the other. So we offered him actually some tablets, and I told him that he can start use our offices of the organization in order to give trainings, or to help his friends to assist these trainings with a low price if he wants, or even without paying any bill. So he accept the accept the proposition, and he was so excited. This, for example, our first proposition. Moreover, we told him that he can use the office of the organization during all the year without paying anything, which means without hiring it. Okay, the aim is only to, first of all, to help his friends or colleagues, or even person he don't know. He can invite them through social media if he wants, and tell them and give them the address of the organization, and they can come and assist whenever they want the training. Okay. Then we are seeing with him if there is the possibility also to spread, or let's say to program some publicity on the net in order to tell people that blind persons are not handicapped people. Blindness in the mind is not in the heart. Okay, so in that case, they can join him whenever they want, and if they are able, or if they have some hobbies, they can practice them in our office. This and it was a great idea, and as I see with Radwan, he was so excited also by this proposition, and we are waiting for the first group when they can attend the first session of training.
Excellent. So that is really, really good that Radwan is able to do that. He really loves teaching people. He definitely does. So, from your perspective as a sighted person, what did you know, or what was your idea in your mind or perception of the blind, of blindness and blind people before you met Radwan?
Before I met Radwan, really, I don't know so much about blind person. I know that they maybe they do not have all ability to practice all activity, to maybe to work, to study, to go to the university, maybe even to get out with the friends, because here, for example, it's not America, it's Tunisia, so we do not really facilities of transportation, or let's say of entertainment. So it's not possible for them, as I know, to move from one place to another, to travel, maybe even between cities. So when we met him, and he told me that he has a diploma in English art and human science, I was really surprised by his level of communication, of study. He's not he's not a person that have a handicap. No, he succeeded his studies. He went to the university and he got his diploma, and that was really the surprise, not only for me, but also for the other members of the organization. And this is why we see so much hope in his eyes, and this is why together we decided to give him again other chances to practice what he wants exactly, to maybe afford him what he needs in our office in order to practice what he can, maybe also to have and to live a normal life, not to feel not to feel alone, unable to move. Now I see so much hope in his eyes, and he is a hopeful person. And I think this was enough to give him chance, and to bring him light, let's say, in another way, not only by maybe by activities, by seeing his friends, by showing them what he can do, and how he succeeded in his life, and maybe to be a successful life, or let's successful story, to his colleague, or his friends, or even his family. When I talked to him, he told me that it was not really easy to convince even his family to continue his university study, his, which were not in Germany, it were in another city. So the family was not really for continuing his study, not because he is blind, but maybe because they are fear about him, his future, how he can resist. Maybe he would not be able to finish. Maybe the university will not give him or will not afford him facilities or other kind of ability to succeed. So for fear, they were against the idea, but little by little, thanks to his hope, to his great ideas, to his, as I told you, motivation, he succeeded to convince them. So he succeeded to convince his family, and he also succeeded to convince the organization and all the members of the organization. So we are glad to work with him, and really our program is not only to, for example, to afford the tablets just to write, or to give him the opportunity to practice some hobbies in our office, because he hasn't an office outside. No, this only our first program, but maybe in the future, we met him only 2 weeks ago. So rapidly we decided to start with the training for the blind person. But then we are sure I will meet again the president of the organization and the vice president and the other members of the organization, and surely we will help him by another ways. We'll see together how maybe we will help him to earn money, not relying on somebody else, not relying on his family, nor on his friends. But how? By working, for example, looking for person who need motivation, psychological motivation, because we notice in Radwan a high spirit of motivation. So I think he can transmit all this motivation, all this spirit to others, other blind person.
Absolutely. I have noticed that myself, that rather one has motivated me as he motivates us all. He definitely has a very high spirit, always energetic. And that's, his energy level is always great. And that's something that I really look up to for sure. Okay, well, this is all wonderful. So besides these iPads that you guys already have, it sounds like maybe you were talking about an iPad. In American English, we say iPad more than tablet, but that's what it reminds me of. Anyway, though.
Yeah, iPad, exactly.
Right, that is fine.
iPad, exactly.
So it seems like your organization is either probably in need of technology or is receiving technology. So what are all of the needs of the organization? What technology do you have? What are you receiving? And then what would your organization like to have? I think our audience would find that to be really interesting.
First of all, as I told you, we were not. This is the first time we know that a blind person use a special iPad. Okay, and it was throughout when we discovered this. So I think we were, in fact, we are in contact with in engineering in computer. He explained us that there is a kind of iPad or tablets needed for a blind to write. So he showed us one example, and we accepted, of course, his intervention. I think we will need to ask him again about some technological items in order to help blind person, because we are not expert in this domain. So maybe we are not able to propose directly our our help. So we need usually the help, or let's say the advice of an engineering in computer. And we have one, we have an engineering in computer in our organization. We started working with him. Actually, we have two iPads are, available. Then we will see another. We will start with 4%, which means we need for iPad. So we need again two iPads in the future in order to have in total 4 iPads. This is the this is in fact the what Radwan needs exactly. Then we are ready for any proposition from Radwan or from any other blind person, because we think I think we will work with another organization who deals directly with the blind person. You know, in each country there is some local organization, or let's say association, which their aim is to help a blind person or other needy, let's say, other person who has some problem, not only inside, maybe even in another kind of problem, physical problem. So in that case, I think we will see with them. We will contact them in order to ask them advices, how they treat a blind person, how they work with them, how they psychological behavior is when working. If they rapid to to get the information, if they because I know that normally they are rapid to get information, to memorize information, because that's why they cannot see, they have problem of sight. But I know, as I do some researches on the net, I discovered that they have an important they are intelligent, let's say, in another way. So we will ask these association for some information how we can work with a blind person, and maybe we can decide or launch some cooperation with them. No problem. If there is, for example, a need to sponsoring, or to do some company of sponsoring, why not? We're not against. If there is, if they need maybe financial help, no problem. We are ready to afford that. So we have to see. We have to see with them what the need of blind person exactly, and how we treat with them in order, to treat them in a good way, to help them and to offer them what they need exactly, because they are normal people. They have no difference between us and them. Only we have to know if they need maybe financial, or some items, some furniture, I don't know, in their association. Why not? We can interfere with no problem. These are only first intervention, but I'm sure we will treat again with them, and I'm sure we will deal with them in order to attain, let's say, our aim.
Very good. So good. Yeah, I do understand that your organization needs a lot of this technology, and that's very important and very difficult to get that arranged. But I also know that with Radwan helping out each day, other people in the community will see the work that he's doing, and that will help tremendously too to raise awareness and to get more
Yeah.
technology to your organization for sure. The other thing, of course, is when this episode is released, of course, share this episode. Once I do publish this video on YouTube, and this podcast episode is yours to publish to the world or your friends or whoever needs to know this information. So my advice, or well, of many things I would say, but one of the things I would say is, please, please do not let Aaron's opinion be the very last podcast you be on. I hope that you, through doing this, will maybe be discovered by other people around the podcast community and be able to spread, this positive message that you have. So, yeah. The other thing is,
Mhm.
so you mentioned that, there in Jarba, there are not um, there are not really the same social activities, and getting around the city is very hard. So, what can you say about getting around Jarba from a sighted perspective? But then, what have you learned from Radwan about getting around Jarba from the blindness perspective?
We learned from Radwan, first of all, hope, how he can usually keep hope and hoping. He has always keeping a high spirit of hope, even in difficulties, even in hard period. He was, as I see in his eyes, he was always a militant believer that he can succeed in his sorry, in his mission between quotation mark. So he was not a pessimist person. He is so much, he is so optimist. He wanna start his life differently. He don't want to copy any life. He don't want to be a blind person begging or have problem with money, or let's say with work. He can't work now. It's not his problem. What he wants to do his he to enhance people to participate in real life, in social media, in festival. He's not against arts. He's not against cinema. He's not against training. He wanna spread all his let's say competence. He want to share his competence to other. He want to help other. So in Jerba, in fact, there is not, let's say, a big center which, let's say, collect all blind person, or which help all blind person. But with association, with little association, we can work. We can little by little convince people that they have to integrate a blind person with them, with no fear of failure, because there's people who can say, no, I can't work with, for example, blind person because he will not be able to do his job correctly. Maybe he's not able to write. Maybe he can't type. He can type on the computer, so I cannot work with him. So we will work on this side also, on this psychological side. So in that case, it's not the blind who need motivation. It's not the blind who need training, maybe. It's not the blind person who need, let's say, support. I think the normal people, the people who has no problem with that, they need training, that in order to maintain a relationship between both sides. In that case, if the other accept blind person as normal person, I think we will succeed in our mission. So we can starting also by this idea, or let's say by this plan also, in order to get great results.
I think yes. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think what you're
Yeah.
saying is true, and interests me. I mean, as far as the notion of really who needs training, well, it does go both ways. You're right. Sighted people, it may be more, I suppose, difficult for a sighted person to understand. I think, in my opinion, what it is that it might, in fact, be more challenging for a sighted person to understand the training that is needed. But it also might be more difficult for the blind person to ask for help to get the training that is needed. So both people, both sides of the story need training and still need to learn more and need to learn things, without doubt. Oftentimes in the states, and it's basically the same in any country, is that if you're a blind person without the tech skills, without knowing how to use, this technology, then it becomes very difficult for you to be employed. And I notice this perhaps at times in my own life, off and on, right? Or maybe I notice it more than ever now that I'm a podcaster, and a teacher. But especially here on the podcast, I see a lot of blind people that are able to work, deserve to work, but cannot find work at this particular moment because they just don't have enough of the right skills. So it is a very difficult equation. The other thing too is you're right. You're right, Rafa. There are some people even in American society or any country really that just won't work with blind
Of
people. They
course,
just
yes.
refuse. So,
Yes.
it kind of goes both ways. The other question that I had for you was, so, Radwan has told me a lot about Jarba from his perspective, but what can you tell me about the city of Jarba itself? And, growing up there and the lifestyle there, and what can you tell me from your perspective about Jarba?
Okay. As you know, Jerba is an island situated in the east south of Tunisia. So when we see island, so directly you will say it's a touristic area, or it's a touristic city. Yes, that's right. Our first, let's say, our first interest is tourism, but also we are working, especially after the revolution, the Tunisian revolution, we are working on on artistic side of Jeddah, which means maintain the antiquity of Jeddah, because all over, not all over the world, but in Tunisia, if in comparison with other cities in Tunisia, Jerba has been always an ancient, let's say, area. There is sea, there is good weather, but also there is not a rural life, but it's in fact a life that is not complicated. There is no, for example, trains in Jerba. There is no railways. We don't need it. We don't use it. Um, we only use cars, for example. We have an airport, of course. It's a well-known airport. We have many festivals. Festivals are divided into touristic festivals and artistic festivals. We have Georgian architecture, which means we are characterized by a specific architecture in Jerba. We are used to use blue and white colors in our houses. Windows in blue, walls in white usually. So we keep the same color. Imagine we have a style of homes that is not so much complicated. We don't need big buildings, for example, since we are in island, so we don't use it. We don't live in high building. It's all it's all our life is simple, but it's characterized by simplicity and quietness. There is so much calm in Jerba. There are many visitors from all over the world. There are many festivals, as I told you. People came from all over the world. They came from America, from Denmark, from French, from Italy, from German, from Arabia Saudi, from Algeria, from Kuwait, from Africa, from South Africa, from all over the world. We have the habit also to launch, or let's say to do some kind of conference which deal with climatic problems, you know. We invite people from all over the world. And when I say from all over the world, which I mean, we invite people that they are really decision or really they have maybe they're engineering, maybe they are working in petroleum, maybe they are a president. So Jerba is really a touristic destination of Tunisia, but also nowadays it's also became as a political destination. So we invite many political presidents from France, from Germany, from Italy. So we have the habit to let's say to communicate or to work with a foreign person. As we are a francophone country, and also we have a big, let's say, percentage of people who can speak English or at minimum they can understand English, so Anglophone person. This is German in general. So as organizations, as association, by different activity, not only this what I work, Gerba Solidarity and Development, there are other associations who try to work with foreign association, with other organizations all over the world in order to invite them to come, to invest in Juba, to introduce our island to others, to let them discover our climate by publicity on the net, by publicity on TV, by interviews with foreign people, by inviting journalists from all over the world. You know, we have not only one religion here. That's true that our first religion is we are all Muslim, but there is a minority of Jewish here also. Well, there is also a little minority of Christian people also here, since you know the colonization. So there are some Italians, some French who still live here from the 50s and 60s. You know. So this is in general. It's not only a touristic town or a touristic city, but also is a political city where we try to invite others to work with them to invest, as I told you, to if they want to make some project here, to cooperate with them, to collaborate with them in any field they want. We are not, we are, in fact, we are open-minded mind to the other, and we are ready to work with anybody else from any country.
Excellent. So good. So good. And to dig into a little bit more about your background, so you're cited. I mean, how did you originally find out about this, Jarba Solidarity organization in the first place? Were you in university and you were just looking for organizations to get started with, or how did you come in contact with the organization yourself?
Organization, in fact, the president of the organization was one of my teacher when I was 17 years old. So it was, I discovered the organization just like that on the net, on Facebook, on the platform of Facebook. So I told him that I want to participate in some activities. So I started by that. As a community manager, I started with preparing some graphic design for their social media as an organization in order to spread and to spread their audience. But little by little, I discover the humanitarian and volunteering work characterized the association. So I um, so I propose on the president of the organization if I can be one of their member, and of course he accepted. I am with this organization from January 2022. So recently, I have only 4 months with them, and I am really excited with this experience. And I think I will continue with them because it's, as I told you from the beginning, it is not an organization who deals with the project only, but it is a non-profit organization since it deals with UNDP. So, so it's quite clear that we do not have a profit interest. Our first aim is to help and to motivate people to work, to change the mentality of people also, to push them, let's say, not only to motivate them, to push them towards success. It's not normal today that you have all the facilities to work, but you still only spending some hours on your work, in your office or in front of your computer, doing some work, and it's enough. Today we are working on psychological side of people. We are trying to meet them in our office as we do with as we have done with Radwan. We also met other people in order to convince them, to enhance them to work, to give some new ideas, to show us how he can help not only the organization, but in fact he will help Jerba, and then automatically he will help Tunisia in general. We are in a phase of rebuilding our country after the revolution. So in that case, this is why we need organization and the intervention of some organization to spread this spirit in community and between people. I think working with the organization, it's really a honor for me, as it is a honor also for the rest of the members, because we are not all born we're not born with having a high level of let's say experience. No, we need always experience. We need always work. We need always support. And if we succeed to do all these things, I think we will succeed to help our country in general, not only the organization. Also, yeah, I have question.
Sure. Absolutely. You are so right, and that's absolutely the right attitude. That's all very interesting. Yes, go ahead though. Also, go ahead.
Okay. Then also, I think today, if you want to rebuild our country, it's all about rebuilding also our new generation, our kids, to improve, let's say, education here, to discover new way of teaching, maybe find other ways or new ways to implicate people in real life. Today, for example, we need all of us to work with computer, to know what is computer, to use it not only in communication throughout social media. Unfortunately, people today are, let's say, young, especially young use computers only in communication throughout social media, Instagram, Facebook, etc. But this is not what we need. What we need really is to rebuild a new generation, a solid generation, by using new methods of teaching, by finding themselves by themselves these new ways, not relying on some research on net and it's enough. No, I think we have to go beyond all that. So, as organization, we can sometimes practice, or let's say launch some session for kids in order to tell them how they use correctly social media, how they can use YouTube for good things, how they can protect themselves for from from social media itself, because it's not always a good thing to let your child or let your kids all the day in front of laptop or in front of iPad to just to waste their time on video games, on maybe on playing other kinds of maybe even games which can horrify them sometimes, which can lead them sometimes to other social problems. So if you want to protect them, if you want to protect the new generation, we as organization, we have to react, we have to deal with all these problems, to help the state, the Tunisian state, maybe to, 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 to help kids, to help young to find their ways by themselves, but also by guiding them, by advising them, by giving them the right advice, in order to reach good results at the end. And why not? As I told you, the first aim is to rebuild the nation after the revolution and to reach good results, not only on education but even in other fields, engineering, computer, um, health, whatever you want.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. All one. I completely agree with you too. That there is definitely a correct way to use social media and an incorrect way, and that the younger generation definitely needs to be taught the difference. I just have one question for you. one more question for you before we start to walk to the end of the episode. So, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for everything you're doing, for one. For another, um, it's pretty special and pretty unusual for a guest to reach out to me. So how did you find out about me, by the way? That was never entirely clear. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you found out about what I'm doing, if you want?
Okay. In fact, when Radwan told me about your podcast, Aaron's opinions, first of all, I didn't understand the aim, or let's say the aim of the purpose of the podcast. So he told me I will send you the links in order to see some podcasts, and I opened them. I started to see some of them, and really I discovered many interesting points who that you dealt with. So it was interesting for me to be one of your guests, not only to explain or to introduce or to present my organization, but also to speak about our activities, to speak about my country, even a little bit, to speak about our generation, not to give up hoping by presenting or by speaking about Radwan example. So when I see one of your episodes that you have done with Radwan, I see you were in um, in really a good, let's say, harmony. There was a great sense of communication of high level, of interesting ideas, themes. You were talking about many important points that attract people. I understand that as a podcast, as an interview, or let's say as an idea, as Aaron's opinion, it is really an important program or podcast in which you can discover little by little many themes, in which you've talked about many problems, let's say, related to blind person, and also related to sighted person. So I was excited to the idea, and I was one of your guests, and he proposed me that, if I want to join your studio, and I accept this with a great pleasure and with a great honor.
Well, thank you. Merci. So good. It was so good of you to join us today, this evening. Of course, as we come to the end of another great episode here on Aaron's Opinion, thank you so much for all the kind things you've said. And really, thank you for educating the world about your critical organization. Let me just end today by saying the same way that we would end any episode. If you can ask me only one question in the world, to really make me sweat, to see if I'm worth my salt as a podcaster, what would you like to ask me for the final question? Go right ahead.
My question would be, for example, how would you be able to spread your parents' opinion to your guest? And did you have or did you find an interaction from North country? Is that only Radwan and me your first guest from northern country, north southern country, or this is, or you have another guests and another reaction, or did you get other reaction from other African, Northern African country, Algeria, I don't know,
Great. I mean,
Morocco.
I think really what it comes down to is, yeah, I think actually Radwan was the first Tunisian. I know that, well, you're more than welcome to go through the catalog of all the episodes. I know I've spoken to people from Uganda, Gambia, and several other African countries over the years. But yes, you guys are definitely some of the most active, and as you will find out in just a few minutes, Radwan is one of the most active supporters of Aaron's opinion. So, anyway, thank you for that. And if someone would like to learn more about your organization, apart from click the link in the description, where can they contact you and where can they find your organization?
Sorry,
No problem.
what have you? Could you repeat, please, what you have said?
Sure. Where could someone find you or find your organization? Where can they learn more about you and the important work that you are doing?
Today we will continue working on some minorities. When I say minorities, I don't need
No,
different
no,
person.
mais non, mais non, mais non, mais non, 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 excusez-moi. Ou quelqu'un trouver le site web de votre organisation, etc.
Ah, okay. Okay, I will just I don't have it in mind.
Here, I
Okay,
here.
our website is www.jerbasolidev.org.
Excellent.
This is our website.
Wonderful,
Okay.
wonderful.
We have,
Well,
of course,
Rafa, that is all very good. So, Rafa, keep up your great work. I really appreciate what you're doing. I am out of time on this episode. I would like to wrap it up right here by saying thank you. Thanks a lot. Merci beaucoup. And of course, you guys can click the link in the description for more information. Rafa, keep up your great work. I wish you all the best of health and luck in everything that you're doing. And to everybody else around the world, as I like to say here on Aaron's Opinion, thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week. We'll be back soon with another episode. And until then, stay safe out there, everyone. Keep up your great work and help one person today, help 1 million people tomorrow.